Hello, my dear friends. Hope you all be fine and doing well. Thank you so much for joining me again in your channel. My dear friends, this video is completely different from the other videos I already uploaded. So if you ask me what is the best video in your channel, definitely I will vote for this video. And I need your attention to watch this video till end, and you will understand lots of good things and enhance your knowledge and skill in chess. So my dear friends, in this video I am going to talk about most famous and most important principles in chess. If you follow these principles in chess in your daily game, so therefore definitely you will see the positive result, and you will see how you increased your knowledge in chess. So without wasting the time, let's get started the game. So my dear friends, the first principle of chess, keep in mind that the first principle of chess is to have control in the center. Control in the center means that you should have full control in the squares of d4, d5, e4, and e5. These four squares are very important in chess. So the player who has the control in these four squares, definitely he will lead himself towards success. So these four squares are very important. So in the beginning of game, you try your best to have full control in the center. For example, you are pushing the pawn into e4 and you are going to control the center. So now you control the center. In case if your opponent is pushing the pawn into a6, so he is not a good player and he doesn't have any idea about the chess principles. And from other hand, you have a good knowledge about chess principles and how you should control the center, you know, but your opponent doesn't know. So in here you just simply push the pawn into d4. Now your opponent, for example, he is pushing the pawn into h6. Especially this is not an appropriate move for black, but I just want to tell you that how much this is important for you as a beginner or as an intermediate level, how you should play chess perfectly. So see my dear friends, in here by pushing the pawn you controlled in the center, but from other hand your opponent just controlled two squares, but you controlled four squares. Now you can analyze with yourself how much territory you have, and now you have full control in the center. And I'm going to give you another example. So my dear friends, in this example I'm going to show you if you place your knight in the center and your opponent is placing his knight in the corner. The first principle of chess is to have control in the center. For example, if you place your knight in the center, you just count it, my dear friends, how many squares you can control by your knight. But from other hand, your opponent has control in 4 squares, but you have control in 8 squares. So that's why it is very important that you should have the control in the center. And also it is very important that when you are activating your knight, you should activate it toward the center. The players who have the control in the center, definitely they will have the best game and they will win the game, rather than the players they don't know the principles. So my dear friend, the second principle of chess is to develop your pieces in the best squares. If you are observing these principles, so definitely it would be much more better than memorizing different openings. So it is important that you should have a little bit idea about different openings. But in the beginning, if you are in beginner level or if you are in intermediate level, it is mandatory that you should have information about these principles. After that, you will have a very good and fantastic game. So if you observe these rules in your games, so you will see the positive results, how you changed your game and how you enhanced your knowledge in chess. So let's get started the game. So my dear friends, in here you just simply push the pawn into e4, as you understood the first principle of chess, and that is controlling the center. That's why you pushed your pawn into e4 and you want to have control in the center. So from other hand, if your opponent is a weak player and he doesn't have any idea about chess principles, so for example, he is moving very badly. For example, if he takes his knight into a6, as you see that this is a very passive move and he is not controlling the center, and also he developed his pieces in a corner side. When you see such a move from your opponent's side, you have to think about the main principles of chess, and that is pushing the pawn into d4, and now you have full control in the center by pushing your pawns. For example, in here, if your opponent again make a mistake by taking his knight back into b8, now you also develop your pieces. Remember, my dear friends, first you should develop your knights, after that your bishops. So it is important that you should develop your pieces. So the second principle of chess is telling you that you should develop your pieces in the best square. For example, you are not developing your knight into h3, because from h3 you have just control in 4 squares. So that's why it is not suggesting for you. The main recommendation is that you should take your knight into f3. See, my dear friends, in this position, after you took out your knight into f3, you have full control in 8 squares. So this is a very active move, and you developed your pieces in a best possible squares. If your opponent again take his knight into a6, as he is not going to do the good things, so just simply you have to develop your pieces nicely, step by step. If he takes back, so simply you are placing your bishop into f4. For example, if he is doing the same thing, so therefore you are taking your bishop into c4. So after your opponent decides to move, so in here, my dear friends, you have opportunity and you have two options. So up to this position, you developed your pieces perfectly. Up to here, you should realize that you developed your pieces in the best possible squares. For example, see, my dear friends, in here you control all the centers, and also you activated your pieces, and you have much more control in the center. So after going to castle, so definitely you will have a very fantastic game, and you will bring lots of pressures to your opponent. So this is the main idea, that you should develop your pieces. That's why I moved very bad for black pieces. The things that I wanted to show you, what is your requirement and what is your wish to play such a fantastic game. And this is the main idea that you should do in the beginning as a beginner or intermediate level in chess. So my dear friends, in another game, I'm going to show you if your opponent is playing in a best way, what you should do. So my dear friends, coming back to the main lines. So in this variations, I'm going to show you if your opponent knows how to play. That's why he is deciding to push the pawn into e5. From other hand, he is also having control into squares. So therefore, now your opponent is not allowing you push the pawn into d4, because now he is simply capturing. So he is doing his job perfectly. So now your turn. So in here, you should develop your pieces in the best possible squares. So your opponent is also taking his knight into c6, as he is also activating his pieces. So my dear friends, in here you have this good option to take your bishop into c4. So this is called the Italian game, and it is recommended to all the intermediate and beginners levels. So my dear friends, a few minutes ago I told you that it is better to take your knights first, after that you activate your bishops. So it is very depends upon few openings. If you have a little bit good idea, your second goal is to activate your knights. And here, my dear friends, sometimes you should not too much in rush to develop your pieces. For example, if your opponent make a mistake by taking his queen into h4, and he is going to attack to your pawn, in such a situation, you should not develop your knights, as it is very important that you should have activate your pieces. But in here you are missing the big opportunity because your opponent made a blunder by taking his queen into h4. So why you should not simply capture the queen? So my dear friends, I just want to tell you that yes, you have to follow the principles of chess, but sometimes you should be careful and you should play by vision. Maybe there are lots of mistakes your opponent doing, so that's why your opponent is not coming. So I just wanted to tell you by mistake, if your opponent make a mistake, so you should not think about all the principle directly. You should think in chess. Critical thinking is very important, and there is very famous quote in chess: if you see a good move, look for better one. You should play by your vision. Sometimes lots of opportunities are coming. Now your opponent is also activating his bishop into c5. Now you have to take your knight into c3. So your opponent is also doing the same thing because you are activating your pieces in a best way, and your opponent is also developing his pieces in a best way. So my dear friends, now you analyze your game, and here you developed all your pieces perfectly, but there is only one of your pieces remained in the board. So you want to activate it. How you can activate this piece? So simply push the pawn into d3, and this way you are going to activate your bishop. Your opponent, maybe he is also doing the same thing, or he has this opportunity to go castle. You have this option to place your bishop in these 3 squares. That is very, very important, and it depends upon the way of you are playing that where you should place your bishop. So this is coming to your critical thinking and your intelligence. For example, you are taking your bishop into g5. So if your opponent push the pawn, so simply you are going castle. So my dear friends, it was the second principle of chess, to develop your pieces in the best possible squares, as I showed you. So my dear friends, the third principle of chess is to safety of your king, and that is very, very important that you should be careful and you should observe all these principles if you want to learn and improve your skills in chess. For example, your opponent pushed the pawn into a6. You just simply activating your bishop and also having control in the center. So for example, in here your opponent, he is playing very bad move by pushing the pawn into h6. Now in here you are using from opportunity and activating your pieces. So your opponent is not playing carefully, so that's why he is pushing the pawn into b6. So he is playing very badly. In this position he should activate his pieces, but he is wasting the time. So my dear friends, in here I'm going to show you how much the safety of king is important in chess. So in here you have to take your queen into d2. Now your opponent is bringing his rook into a7. So my dear friends, in here you have 2 options to go castle. You can go short castle or you can go long castle, but sometimes you don't know in which side you should go castle. But in here it is better to go long castle. Why? Because these pawns are very strong, and from other hand, if you go long castle, your rook especially will place behind your queen, and it will help you to attack in this position. So that's why you are going to long castle, and these pawns are very strong for protecting your king. From other hand, you doubled your queen and your rook. In the future you will have attack in this file. For example, in here your opponent is pushing the pawn into g6. Now you have this brilliant check by your rook. So that's why in this check your opponent can cover it by his bishop. So my dear friends, in here I just wanted to show you how much is important the safety of your king. So therefore you should keep in mind that all the time you have to observe the principles of chess step by step, otherwise you are losing the game. So in here, see my dear friends, you can attack to this bishop. So your opponent cannot move his bishop because you pinned this bishop by your rook. So my dear friends, in this position, white is completely better and dominant the entire game. So therefore, it is not good for black, and definitely after few moves, the black will be checkmate. So my dear friends, after observing chess principles, especially controlling the center, activating your pieces, you should not forget about safety of your king. So that's why it's very important, and you are preventing from placing your king in the center. So in the chess, you are fighting for controlling the center. If your opponent place his king in the center, definitely it will be very difficult to prevent from checkmate. So that's why it is very important that you should think about safety of your king.